Whether you're in the mountains chasing elk, in the stand waiting for that whitetail buck to step out, or trudging through the elements running a trap line, nothing comes easy. We do it because we love the challenge and we refuse to quit. Out here, success is earned, never given. Welcome to No Easy Tag.
Are you the co-host, buddy? Yeah.
Today we are joined by Steven Pallas. Steve is a Marine Corps veteran, construction project manager, entrepreneur, dedicated bow hunter, and most importantly, a husband and father to 2 boys. He is the founder of Gruntlife, a game call company built around his passion for bow hunting mixed with his time in the Marine Corps infantry. Over the years, Steve has harvested multiple mature and semi-mature whitetail bucks, has pushed himself to the limit in the mountains pursuing elk. Through both his success and setbacks, he's gained a wealth of knowledge, not only about what works, but also about what doesn't. Today we'll talk about how he got started bow hunting, some of his past and future hunts, what he's learned along the way, grunt life, and how he balances family, work, and a serious passion for bow hunting. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation with Mr. Gruntlife himself, Steven Pallas. What's going on, man?
I've never been called Mr. Gruntlife before, so that's a first.
Well, we're going to get that going.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, Steve and I met, we were still in the Marine Corps. We were going through a program to become pipe fitters. And, I mean, I don't know, we just made a friendship and we've known each other for 10 years now?
Yeah, because out at Camp Pendleton, there was how many people were in our class? 20?
Yeah, I mean 20 or 30, something like that.
We're both going to the same local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it was fun times back then. It's been, time goes by too quick.
But he decided that he didn't want to weld anymore. He'd want to sit in an office and tell people to weld.
Yeah, well, just took advantage of the GI Bill, I guess.
Yeah, good for you. So, well, let's get into it. Tell me about when did you start hunting, and go from there.
My dad, he was into mainly bird hunting and rifle hunting, deer, fishing and stuff. And, I remember riding around in his Ford Ranger doing all that shit when we were little and stuff. But he kind of faded out of it a little bit more as I was getting to the ages, to get into it, I guess, more so. So I didn't really start doing it myself till, high school mainly. Middle school and that type of shit, I'd still go with during rifle season, but I never, hunted myself. But, I guess mainly in high school with buddies and stuff, and that's kind of where it started. And then after first deployment, I bought a new bow, and it was, I guess, something good to do on base because, I feel like you're either gaming, you're getting into trouble, or you're just, drinking a lot.
Yeah.
Or, some people just work out a lot too, the normal people probably. But so having a bow was kind of one of those things, damn near every night after work I'd go to the range and just shoot. And then one of my buddies bought a bow, and then another one did, and there was a few of us that would go. And there was a handful of weekends where we bought some bear tags and deer tags and went up to the Sequoias and tried our hand at that. And we knew absolutely nothing about what we were doing out there. And this was back in 2014, 2015. So, even the hunting podcasts weren't a big thing back then.
Yeah.
YouTube channels were starting out. So I was buying bear hunting textbooks type thing. And I was kind of reading through that stuff and probably learning a lot of the ways that really aren't true, I guess. One of the funny things I think today is one of the things out there is they say you can call bears out there, and it might be true, I don't know, but they're use a squealing rabbit call type thing, coyote calls type thing. So we're well, fuck, we're just gonna sit in a blind and call them. They're gonna come right to us. They never did. Nothing ever did.
Nothing ever came out of it.
No. Okay. So we did some spot and stock stuff too, but we never. It was all very limited. We drive up there on a Friday, be able to hunt Saturday. And then Sunday we'd leave and come back. And we had deer takes too, and we saw deer and shit up there, but we never even shot at anything. It was a handful of weekends, because this is all pretty much between the weeks where you're not in the field training and it's within the hunting season date, so it's like you're pretty
limited on your time.
Yeah, so there's only a handful of times to do that, but it was still a lot of fun just driving up sequoias and trekking around with the bows. But yeah, I guess from there, when I moved back home in 2017, kind of started bow hunting more around where we like rifle hunted and stuff. And that year, I shot 8-pointer, 100-inch buck with the bow. Was just stoked. And it was one of those things like perfect like setting for Midwest, like snow coming down, freezing. It was like almost 10, and I was telling myself like, all right, 10 more minutes, I'm gonna get down. And I'm like, oh fuck it, I'm gonna like spray some doe urine and hit the doe bleat and start putting my stuff away. So I did that, hit the doe bleat, start putting my stuff away, and I look up and this buck's already at like 30 yards, just like nose down, coming right through. So then before I could even think, I shot him in the lungs and he ran 100 yards or so, and I was like, holy shit. Like, that happened so quick, you know.
Was that your first buck with a bow?
Yeah.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yep.
So what did that feel like? Just a shot of adrenaline?
Well, it was almost one of those things like after the fact I was pumped, right? But like during it, I'm like, wow, man, I thought like I'd have more buck fever than that, you know? But it all happened so quick that it just like grab the bow, shoot it. Just felt like you're shooting at a target almost. And then after I watched it run off, and then I kind of like got the holy shit, like that was awesome, you know? And then I hit up a couple buddies that were also hunting, and they came and helped me, you know, drag it out and all that shit. And then I got it in the truck, they hit their stands, and then one of my buddies shot a buck, his first bow buck the same day, like a couple hours later. So then I went and helped him drag it out. So it was quite the day. And then we partied.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, that was kind of how I guess got into it. More so heavy on the bow end, and but I was very much so doing the whole. That was 2017, so 2017 to 2021, it was all just bow hunting deer, and that was very much so like the shoot every now and then, really break the bow out of the case a month or two before the season starts.
August.
Yeah, and like kind of like most people do, right? And I didn't shoot another buck until 2021.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yep. So I had opportunities. I missed bucks. Like I missed two bucks within those 3 seasons. Just like easy shots too. I guess one was a 40-yard. Easy to me now, you know. One is 40-yard rail where it's back. It was a nice 10-pointer. Ran back to 60. I missed it again. That was that 2018 season. And then 2019, first time I used a decoy. Or this one might have been 2020. First time I used a decoy. Small fork was coming in to the side of it, like on it, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. The decoy is actually like working, you know. And then on the corner of my eye, an 8-pointer's coming right in at it. So I go to draw back and got in my head. It walked right up to its ass and was like sniffing the decoy. Turned around, and I went to shoot a broadside and went right over its back at like 20 yards. Huh. So yeah, those are kind of like the not so great years of bow hunting, I guess, because I was just missing deer. Like wasn't really practicing all that much. I still was like super passionate about it, but there was just nothing in my head or anything I learned yet that was telling me like,
yeah,
all the time. You know,
it hadn't clicked yet to where
until we went elk hunting for the first time, and that's when everything kind of turned around.
Right. Well, okay, so let's get into it. So, 2017, you killed your first buck with a bow.
Mm-hmm.
That's, you know, you practiced with the bow on Pendleton. You bought your bow. You practiced with it. You went out hunting. But it wasn't until 2017 when you shot your first buck. Mm-hmm. That's what really hooked you to right. Move ahead. So 2021 you went on your first elk hunt?
Yes. Yep.
So let's dive into that. So what was that like? I mean,
so I guess leading up to that, I had an elk tag for Wyoming in 2017, but there was a few of my buddies and we were gonna go rifle hunting.
Okay.
But one of my buddies pretty much couldn't go anymore. So then my other 2 buddies bailed. So then it was just like, I just didn't end up going. I wish I would have just went now. Like if it was, you know, known I know now, it would have just went, but I didn't. Right. So between those years and 2021, I think my buddy Sam started getting into bow hunting like probably 2018-ish. We were talking about it every year. We're like, we need to go elk hunting. Like so fun. Like, we just buy over the counter tag, whatever, And then every year we kept putting it off, and finally we're like, we're just gonna go this year. We're just gonna do it. We don't know what we're doing, but we're gonna go to Colorado. We're gonna buy over the counter tags. We're gonna figure it out. Listen to some podcasts, do some research. Like, thought we had a pretty good game plan going. I was shooting. The bow was shooting good. I was shooting a lot more that summer, but still a lot of amateur mistakes on that trip. Like, I ended up like switching my bow site out to a new site, and I'll tell you a little story with that once we get there. But we get the spot picked out in Colorado, and we get out there where it's like everything you could imagine for elk hunting, elk country and shit, right? And we're out there like 2 days before the season started, and our plan was to hike up to this one spot way up the mountain. We thought it was gonna be good up there, and kind of scope it out, maybe drop some stuff for camp, and then hike back to the truck, and then the next morning like work our way up there. And that was our first realization of like, it doesn't always look exactly like Onyx shows, So it was this mother of a mountain, and we hiked up it, and it took us like 2 hours, and it was like probably a few thousand feet of elevation. Like, we went way up to the top, and we got way up there, and there's side-by-sides passing us on this trail and shit. And we're like, what the heck? And we get up there, and we're talking to them, we're like, they're like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, oh, we're elk hunting and stuff. And they're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we drive up here quite a bit. We've never seen any elk. And we're
they have bows in the back or what?
No, these were people with like beer, and like they offered us snacks and shit. We got up there, like they were cool. They were just camping, driving around, and we're like, oh dang, okay. And we get up there, and we're looking around. We're like, well, this doesn't really look exactly like we thought it would look. Like, we're at like the peaks, like above tree line. There's just like this little like lake up there that's like kind of dammed. I don't know what was really going on with that.
So at this point, when you got out there, were you good at reading topographical maps?
I was good at topographical maps and shit.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because land nav.
Right, land nav and all that. And what about using like Onyx 3D? Did you have that at that time?
I don't think it was. If it was around at that time, it wasn't as good as it is now.
Yeah, and you weren't using like Google Earth or anything to actually look at.
Well, I think we
elevation.
might have looked at some, but it was one of those things like, even when you look at it now, it looks way steeper than it actually is in 3D.
Okay.
When you're adjusting it, kind of.
Yep.
So we thought it was going to be kind of good. You get up to this point, and you're going to have glassing over fucking everything.
Yeah.
And what we got up there, it's pretty much in this valley with this lake and like some. The elk might be up there at some point, but everything else was like steep, and it's kind of funneled down, and I think we would have been above the elk at that point. We very much so could have. Thinking back now, I wish we would have committed to it at least for like a day or two to see, But we got up there, we like kind of like, oh, there's no elk around here. We hiked down, there's cows all over the fucking place and stuff, and we saw moose and stuff, and we're like, the part that we got in our head was, our buddy Mason had hunted out there before, and he had spots that was like an hour or so away, and he shot elk over there before. No, there's elk over there, right? Mm-hmm. So we're like, oh shoot, like we just need audible, right? So we call up Mason. He's like, yeah, he sends us the points and shit. And we just completely moved camp the day before.
Oh, so you didn't invest a lot of time.
No,
into that area.
we did. We wasted a really shitty hike on, not committed.
Yeah.
And I wish we would have at least tried over there, because like it seemed like a really good area, Mm-hmm. But we picked up camp, and we moved, and we got to the new spot, and this would have been the day prior. So that might have been 2 days prior before, when we were going up the shitty one. But we had a day to scout this new area yet. And we hiked out to where he had some pins, made a little spike camp like a few miles from the truck, and then made our way back. And there's a lot more hunters in this area, so we're like, okay, we know, but we still don't know what we're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I was practicing calling in my truck. Like, felt pretty decent about calling and stuff. And we hiked back to the truck after we dropped spike camp off, and these people are just like drunk, stoned, playing board games in the middle of the road. They have campers on both sides, and they start like kind of questioning us, somewhat giving us a rough time. Then they eventually like warmed up to us, and they're like, send us on our way type thing. And we're like, oh, this is gonna be really weird. These Colorado residents that pretty much tell us they own the farm, like they've been there forever type thing.
Right.
So we made our way to we did some hikes, did some different shit different stupid loops over the next few days and ran into deer, a bunch of deer. We had some cows that were like mewing back to us that like through some really thick shit, probably within 50 yards, you know, like day 2 or 3, and they just disappear, you know. But we only had one encounter with a bull on that trip, and it was like the second to last night. We heard bugles and stuff, and our like second or third day hunting, we were making our way back to the trailhead, and that group that was sitting their campers, 2 of those guys were just smoked on the side of the trail with a 5x5 in their pack and a bunch of meat and shit, and they were just dead, you know. So we knew and we heard bugling in the distance, and at night you'd hear and shit. But yeah, the second to last day, we were like, well, we're just gonna commit to this one meadow, pretty much on the side of this trail, way up the mountain. And just do some calling and see if anything pops out at like as it gets closer to dark, because that's when we're seeing most of the action, I guess, hearing it and stuff. And start calling, then we hear like a thump, thump, thump. I'm like, what the heck is that? Thump, thump, thump. And then we look up, and this giant muley was just at like 40 yards from us. And we're like, holy shit! But it made like that like thumping noises. It was hopping like up the mountain.
Oh, okay.
You know, and we didn't know what it was until it got close to us. I'm like, oh damn, like that was cool. Too bad we don't have like a deer tag, you know. Mm-hmm. And then shortly after that, we hear something, and across the meadow from us, towards the top where it would come down the mountain, at like 200-ish yards, is like a nice 6x6 bull right on the edge, just raking the tree and shit. As we were like doing cow calls, and I think we bugled like a couple of times. We're like, oh shit, what do? We got this meadow between us and it. Like, I don't know, and we're at this like rock pile, like we're pretty good blended in. So we called, and it's like just looking around, like trying to figure out what's going on, and then eventually just barked. Like it just made the barking sound. And we're like, what does that mean? You know, we don't know. And I'm like, I'm just gonna bark back at it. so I barked back at it, and it's so weird. Like I was barking back at it. It was barking at us. It wasn't moving. It was just kind of hanging around the same tree, like brushing its antlers and stuff. And I'm barking at it, and we're just at a standoff. We're just barking back and forth. Super fucking weird. Like I never even tried barking. I didn't even know what it was. It just, I guess, sounded good enough for him to think it was another bull. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, well, we just got to make our way towards it. And there was some trees kind of sporadically throughout. So we just slowly start making our way towards it. It's barking at us. I'm barking at it. It's slowly going away from us as we're slowly going towards it. And then it just disappeared.
So for the people that are listening that don't know what it means when an elk barks, can you explain that?
From my understanding of it, when they bark, they're pretty much to the point where they're like, all right, I've had enough shit, like, show yourself. Like, I want to see. Yep. I want to see you. Like, I'm kind of getting on edge, like, done fucking around, like, show yourself, and that's pretty much what it's asking for. So,
yeah, so when they chuckle, that can also mean, like, show yourself or bring yourself in, and then the bark is more of an alert.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, you know, like, if you got a herd bull with cows, if that cow barks, they're all busting out of there.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it kind of made its way from us, and at this point, it's getting like, shooting light's pretty much getting done. We're like, all right, we need it. But our spike camp's only like a half mile down this meadow on the side of it, on the trail. And we're like, okay, so let's go back down there. We got back down there, and it starts bugling. It's just ripping bugles, and we're like, I feel like it's following us. So like it's in the meadow, like above us, you know, a little bit. We're like, we don't want to like bust it out of here. So let's just hike back to camp, to the base camp, our trucks, and we'll come back up here in the morning, you know, and hopefully it's still around. So we hike. It really sucked hiking away, as you're hearing it just rip bugles and stuff.
Yeah.
And we got back to camp, woke up super early, hiked back up. There was a temp drop night, and we weren't really prepared for like 30-degree weather, you know. So we get up there sweating our ass off after like a 3-mile hike up the mountain, you know. And we don't have like anything for like cold weather gear, really, you know, especially like because we got up there, our tent was like stay put kind of up by where it was and start calling and stuff. So we're just like shivering, like freezing our ass off up there. And
it's September, right?
Yeah.
Us Flatlanders, it's warm down here.
Yeah. And we toughed it out for a little bit up there. And then it got to the point where like, well, it's almost like 10, 11 o'clock. Like, us start packing up to leave. And that was that. That was the end of our first season. It didn't come back to us, didn't talk or anything. I feel like if we would have hung around, if we had a few more days, like we were starting to kind of figure things out in that area, you know?
Right.
Like probably would have had a better chance if we had more time out there. But like from us, when you're going out west, and like for me, I guess specifically, and you have a 10-day period where you can hunt for 7 days and a couple days of travel, it's like you're
plus
not,
what you wasted a day not investing in that.
So that was more so
and-
like a 12-day trip for us because we planned to get out there a few days early for like scouting and
Right.
shit. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was like my first intro to like elevation, like sickness too. I woke up in the middle of the night, throbbing headache, puke in my guts.
Oh,
right
really?
Inside the tent, and and I had that a couple times though in Colorado.
Okay.
And it really sucks when you're hiking up a mountain in the pitch black and your guts are just telling you to empty them one way or another. It really sucks.
Huh.
Yeah.
How long does that? I've never had that. How long does that last?
For me, it was it's typically only like the first couple days, and it's mainly like headache, like at night,
Okay.
like sleeping when you wake up, whatever, and then your stomach just feels upside down. I only puked that first year out there. Every other time, it's favored coming out a different way.
Okay. So when you were in your tent at night, did you do any night bugling?
No, not
Okay.
on that trip.
Okay. That was still kind of like a thing that you didn't quite know about.
Right, exactly. And
Okay.
we would like in our tent we would hear them at
Yep.
night, and like we'd talk to that other camp up the hill of it from us, and they would say, "Oh, they were bugling at like 2, 3," and I'm really like, I don't even know what time it was. I was in my sleeping bag. Like, I didn't know that like those guys were out and about at that time.
They were night
They
bugling.
were like getting up.
They were
on-
getting after it.
Yeah, and we're like
And
all
you guys were
cozy
in
in our
tents.
our tents. Yeah. And so that road was on like a super steep like drainage, and one day we were like, we're just gonna drop straight down in, go after them down there, make our way back up, and do a super big shitty loop. And we ran into them after it was all said and done. They're like, oh, we heard some bugling down in like the drainage below. And we're like, oh, that was us. And they're like, you dropped in there? And we're like, yeah. Like, oh my god, like, you guys are crazy. Like, what the?
Or a little respect out of that.
A little bit, but also they're like, these guys are idiots.
Yeah, these idiots
They went,
dropping down
it was steep, and it was like both trekking poles, like hoping you're not gonna just start barrel rolling.
Yeah, because you're not stopping.
Yeah, and we did that a few different trips, like similar stuff like that. I guess you run into that everywhere you go.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of the first year.
So going into this first year, or I guess reflecting on it, what did you like? How was your fitness? What lessons did you learn that okay, this is what I got to do to prepare better for the second year?
So that's kind of where everything kind of turned around for me, like that years, because like I was like hiking, running, like doing some stuff, but I wasn't super. I got in like really out of shape. I'm still way out of shape from what I was in the Marine Corps. Like
We all are. We all
shape, you know. Like
Not as lean, not as mean, but still a Marine.
Yeah, exactly. So after that trip, I was like, I discovered elk shape, that deal, and I think I listened to every single day on my way to work and on my way home. Between that hunting season and the next one, I listened to, I think it was like 300 and some episodes. Like I started episode 1 and all the way up until he was current, and I like bought his plan and stuff. I was doing the CrossFit type shit he did,
Yep.
I was
The
all
December
the step
Chub
ups.
Challenge you were doing, right?
Yeah, I did a
Yep.
bunch of that stuff, and just got way more into like shit with the bow and shooting and all that stuff. I think that was the first year I went to Bow Fest and stuff too. But just like studying a lot more too, like on everything. And like it was from that first year to the second year, I felt like way more prepared. You know, going back out there as far as fitness level specifically, and then even just like the knowledge of elk hunting goes. Because then I'm listening to all those podcasts, and I'm like, oh, that's what it meant when he was barking at me. Like you're starting to actually learn the stuff you saw.
Well, you were listening to Elk Nut at that time too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And where he goes over what everything
Yeah, there's
means.
Yeah, I mean I kind of dove into like a lot of the different, I guess, platforms and guys out there that have, because I thought, did he have the app too?
Yeah,
right?
an app.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think I had that for a little bit. But yeah, so the year 2 going back out there felt a lot more prepared on that aspect, and then we're like, well, we should get deer tags. We should see that. And they're like, oh, they're like 1 point draws. So we drew on that next year. And I'm like, dang, if we would have had them the prior year, we had a couple of different points that we stumbled upon nice bucks, So we go back out and we're like, all right, we're going to go to that same mountain, but we're going to go to the other side of the mountain. We've never been there before, but we think that most people on this side hunting, we can get to like the very back, like shitty spot where those guys were shooting the bulls and stuff from a little bit of a different angle if we just go like up and over the mountain, you know, like, and we're looking at Onyx and we're like, oh, very doable and stuff. And we never been over there, so like hopefully it works out well. And driving to that side, like, yeah, there's like way less hunters, you know. There's still some hunters here and there,
for
but
a reason.
Yeah, well, honestly, not really.
Okay.
I mean, I've felt way better about hunting that side than the other side. And we had this game plan to wake up super early, hike up and over the saddle, over the mountain pretty much, and drop down to this bench. And we're like, there's going to be elk there. You can see water on it. It's a big bench, everything. So we get up super early. We should have got up earlier because it took us longer than we anticipated, you know. And you get up top, and then it's like another one of those, like, straight down. Like, you're pretty much, like, sliding on your ass down this mountain, making a ton of noise. And we're like, well, we should start cow calling because, like, if something hears us coming, they're going to get scared. But if it thinks it's just some elk, you know, whatever, like.
Right.
So we start cow calling as we're kind of, like, getting down this mountain. And then we, like, get down to where it's a little bit flat, and we're like, yeah, there's got to be something up here. It's, like, tall grass, there's water, blah, blah, blah. And we're just, like, smoked. And we should have, like, just stopped and took a breather and been, like, regroup, you know. But we just, like, started kind of slowly walking, like, just looking around. And I'm just looking. I'm like, there's a bull. And my buddy's like, where? And I'm like 80 yards, like, right there, bedded down. Just this, all I saw was black. And I think I was wearing glasses still at the time before I got contacts and shit. And, like, shit's kind of fogged up. But all I saw was, like, the black head. And it's, like, a super early morning, like, in that area, still kind of a little bit of foggish almost, you know?
Yep.
And black head and big antlers and shit. And I'm like, holy fuck. So I'm like, there's one. And he sees it. And we're, like, in the open pretty much between trees and shit. So I'm like kind of walking towards the tree, like trying to get my rangefinder out. My rangefinder's stuck in the post, trying to get out. I look at my buddy and he has his phone out, you know, taking a picture of it. So I always gave him shit about that because he always
instead of going after it, he's got his phone out trying to take a picture of this.
So I always give a shit about that. He always gives me shit back saying it was further than I thought it was, but we never even got to range it because I couldn't get my fucking rangefinder out of the pouch. And it just, at this point, the elk just gets up and just slowly starts walking away from us.
Just walked out of your life.
Yeah, and we're like, well, we gotta like chase it somehow, like we're, you know. So we like split up, and it's just then you get off this bench where it was going, it's just deadfall left and right. The thing was way ahead of us, you know.
Yeah.
So when we're like, damn, like we screwed up. Our plan worked. There was a bull there. The e-scouting was like impeccable, you know, like everything worked out the way it should. Well, we fucked up, you know, and so we sat down there for a while, did some calling, and kind of like we threw up a trail camera down there too because there was like a moose in the pond and stuff and a ton of bear sign. I think we had bear tags too that year. And we're like, all right, well, we're going to hike this way out of here, see if we can pick anything up, go back to the truck and kind of like regroup, you know. So as we're hiking out of there, then we hear bugling and we're like, I think that's a hunter. I don't know. I'm going to go back at it. But it's like coming towards us. And it was another hunter. And it just happened to be a dude from like Rochester.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we kind of just like told him what was going on and whatever. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go back there. And then like we got back to our camp and we drove down the mountain and his car was gone. He just turned around and left. I think probably because he's like, oh, they're probably going to be back there or something. But he was packing into like spike camp back there. But for whatever changed his mind, he left. And so we drive to the other side of the mountain to just kind of like scope it out a little bit, see what's what. Those guys were there again from the prior year. A lot more people. Like every single camping spot off of this road was like taken. So we're like, oh shit, like we might try this like in a day or two as like a last ditch effort type thing, but like we're gonna stick to the other side of the mountain. So driving back to the other side of the mountain, and we're just driving and we're on the mountain. We're like getting pretty close to camp, and I'm like looking out the window, and I'm like, there's a buck, stop. So he stopped. My buddy stopped. We have our bows in our case and shit, right? And I'm like, it's like straight up the mountain from us, like pretty steep angle. And I was like, Sam, just range it. And I rip my bow out of the case. We hop out. It's like the most Wisconsin road hunting thing ever. And I'm wearing Crocs. I get my bow. Sam ranges it. He's like 50, like on the nuts. Put my sight to 50, draw back, shoot it, hit good. It runs off. And I'm like, holy shit, like that just fucking happened. Like full velvet muley. I mean, like not a giant by any means, but like a nice like.
Yeah, this is the one you have on the wall, right? That's a nice deer.
So it runs off, and we're like, holy shit, like, what do we do now? Like, and then it kind of, like, sounded like it crashed, but, like, we were, like, so pumped, like, you know, and my buddy's like, I think it's down. And I'm like, well, let's just give it a little bit. Like, let's come back, you know. So, like, we let it sit for, like, at this point, it was getting pretty close to dark anyways. Like, we were probably an hour or so ahead of, like, legal shooting. So we waited till, like, legal shooting went away, waited, like, 30 more minutes, and then we're like, all right, let's go get it. And they ran, like, 80 yards and crashed. It was like a little bit high of a shot, like where I think I might have clipped one there, but it like hit that top artery and it just dumped blood, you know. So when it just ran out of blood and just piled up.
Okay.
So yeah, and then we got that. That was our first time like quartering and like caping something up there, and brought it to a place in town because we still had like a week ahead of us, and they, you know, processed it and put everything in the freezer for us. And then we're like, all right, well, we have a deer tag left, a bear tag. I had a bear tag. And
Yeah,
then
your buddy had a deer tag as well,
he had a
right?
deer tag.
Okay.
So then I had a bear tag. We have 2 elk tags. We have like 6 days left. We're like feeling pretty high on life, right?
Yeah.
And we noticed there was just a shit ton of deer that would come out on this side of the mountain like an hour before lights. We're like, well, let's just fill the next deer tag. Like, let's just get that all the way. It's super hot. Like, the weather is way hot. It's Labor Day weekend, way hotter than like we anticipated it being, and like they weren't viewing, like we weren't hearing anything. That one we ran into was literally like laying in like swamp water, you know, just like,
yeah.
And this was like in the morning. Cool. This was in the morning already, so it's just like hot, you know, and so we kind of committed to that. We were just driving this, and nobody else was doing this. Nobody else had deer tags like that we ran into. Like, we ran into a couple people, and they're all just elk, and they're like, "Oh, you could like get deer tags pretty easy here," and we're just like, "Yeah,
spread the word. Spread the word."
I mean, we're just like being nice, you know. Yeah. I don't really care. It's not my, you know, we didn't whatever. And they're like, "Oh, dang, that's cool, whatever." So we're driving down this road, and we get to this point where it would just turn around. It's like a dead end, and there was private over there, and we just kind of do this like long road on this side of the mountain, and wouldn't really run into many people at all back there. And we were getting towards the end, and my buddy's like, "Stop!" And I'm like, I stopped, and there's these big like burn piles everywhere where they would just pile up all the dead wood, and I don't know if the forestry was gonna burn them, whatever. But they'd have them piled up, and I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Just stay in the car. Just stay in the car." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm not getting out of the car. He gets out. He gets over to the brush pile. He's kind of like peeking around it, pulling his rangefinder out a couple times, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on over there?" And then he finally pulls his bow up, shoots, and fist pumps, and I'm like, sweet, like day 2, like $2, whatever. So I hop out of the car, slammed the door, and he's like, "No, no, no." And I'm like, "What?" And I look, and this buck, probably 3 times as big as the one I shot, comes running behind the brush pile and hops to the private fence and runs off. And I was just like, what in the hell just happened? Like, what? I'm like, I thought you like shot it. He's like, no. And I'm like, well, you fist bumped. And he's like, yeah, because it was a clean miss. Like, I'm like, oh. So that kind of, I'm like,
I mean,
all right.
that's good, right?
Yeah.
If you're
So
gonna miss, clean miss.
What happened was, I think it was at like 50, and he like ranged it for like 30, like because there was a bush in front of it. His like picked up on. That's why he kept like trying to double check it. So when he shot it, he shot right between its legs, like right under its body.
Low.
Yeah, and this one was like a giant. Like this was a big mule deer. So we're like, dang, okay, well, let's just keep at it. So for the next 3-4 days, we kept up the same deal, which was kind of nice for me because I would mainly just like sit in the truck with my puffy on and my binos and like watching, he'd get out, he'd have to stock up this mountain and get to different brush piles and try to like catch them as they're coming through. They work their way from the bottom of the drainage up this side of the mountain, get to where the big brush piles were, and then they would just like kind of disappear up the mountain over the ridge. It would be like open, and they would just like feed up there at night or something.
Okay.
And so my buddy would get up to the brush piles and try to like catch them as they're coming through the brush piles or around them, Yep. And the closest shot he had up there was probably like 80 yards, but it was the same like bachelor group of like 3 or 4, and the biggest one was like the one he missed, but he never had another shot at him. But there was just a ton of mule deer. I mean, we got to the point where we're like driving on the road, and we're like, you gotta shoot any buck, any legal buck, like we gotta get, right? And there was at one point I stopped, and there's just a spike at like 30 yards. I'm like, Sam, it's about 30 yards on my side of the truck, just knock one and shoot it. And he gets out, and he gets to the back of the truck, and he ranges it, puts it down, buck runs off, and then I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, guess we're not guess we're not shooting another deer. Whatever. We had to commit our last couple days to trying to elk hunt again, at least, you know?
Yeah.
So, because, I mean, the whole time, like, we still were elk hunting, I guess. Like, we were committing to deer hunting, like, primarily early in the morning, late at night, and then middays, like, we would figure out some, like, watering holes to try to, like, sit or, like, whatever. But, like,
bedding area,
nothing was calling or anything. And, yeah, and we didn't end up seeing any more elk that trip. Never heard a bugle that whole week out there.
Oh, really?
It was super hot.
That makes for a long week.
Yeah, so then we pretty much learned never go the Labor Day weekend ever again. You know, that was what we did the first 2 years. So that was pretty much that trip, and then it went into year 3, which was in the complete opposite side of the state.
Did you have any close encounters with that trip?
Yeah, a lot. Like, that was like the year of like bugles. Like, it was like bugle fest left and right. Like, we found this. So it was another one of those things where we have all these hikes planned. We did this really stupid hike right away in the morning up this hill, and I had the elevation sickness, and our camp, like, we weren't even able to get to. This was like our plan B spot because we couldn't even get all the way up the mountain to where we wanted to camp because the road was kind of shittier than we thought with camper and stuff. So this was like our plan B spot, and we kind of adjusted and still did this like shitty hike. And before we even left camp, I had my headlamp on, and I saw an elk run across the road at like a couple hundred yards right up where we were going. So we're like, this is gonna be awesome, you know? And we start hiking, and we get up to the one spot, and there wasn't really much up there. We did like, I think it was like a 10-ish mile like loop this day, and a ton of elk sign, but we didn't see any elk, and we didn't like hear any on that like little loop. So we're like, oh, like, are we just gonna get skunked again, like, type thing? So we had a couple of other areas like kind of pinned in that same unit, and then we drove to this other spot and kind of did some bugling there at night, and like just bugles like all over this little canyon road that you know pretty well. And yeah, so we're like, all right, well, we got to kind of switch and check this place out. So the part that screwed us on that trip was weather. Because, I mean, we had like 7 days of hunting, and I think like 3 or 4 of the days were like thunderstorms pretty good, you know? At one point, we were like, we just need to commit to like hiking down this long trail that slowly makes its way down deep into where all these bugles were, like just a ton of bugles. And, get out there and then hopefully try to stumble upon something, you know? And we were trying that. We got like a mile from the trailhead, and out of nowhere, thunderstorm, lightning, all this crazy shit, and checked the in-reach weather thing, and pretty much said like, yeah, you're screwed for like a day type thing. So we're like, well, let's just get out of here. 'Cause it's super sketchy in the mountains when it's thunderstorms and shit, you know? Because we're like, well, we could either try to hunker down, but we got like the weather report, and we're like, well, let's just get out of here. So then we bail. So a lot of this time, we're driving these roads, and it's like raining and shit, and it's just shitty weather. But like the few days we had that was like good weather and stuff, and we actually had to like try to go after them, is we had just a ton of bugles. And the one time we had our kind of closest encounter in that area was, I think it was towards the end, and we got a bugle from up on the road. I think, what is it, like a 500-yard steep down to the bottom?
You're talking about that deep drainage?
Yeah, and we're like, we don't want to go straight down after it, but like we have to go straight down after it.
I've been there. I'm going back there this year. It is straight down.
Yeah.
That's where I fell, and I fell on my sight and
like
twisted.
Your only option of going down is like put your bow in your pack, both trekking poles, and like try to be safe when you're doing that type of thing.
Maybe go down backwards. Like you're climbing a ladder. I mean.
Yeah. And so I'm doing this with a bugle tube in my hand, and I'm ripping bugles back and forth to this bowl that's at the bottom. And it's sounding like picturesque, like a mean old bull would sound like. And it's just like firing back at us, and we're closing in. And my elevation sickness hit me, and I'm like, Sam, like, I'm either gonna like fill my shorts now, or I need to like stop, because like I need to fix this before we get on this bull. He's like, shit, all right. So he stops. And I'm like, well, I need your toilet paper. So he's like, fuck. So he takes off his pack to take care of business, like the quickest I've ever done it, right? And then we're back at it, and it's still bugling at us. And at this point, we're probably like a few hundred yards away from it, you know, like wherever it is down here. We haven't like pinpointed it. It's kind of like down here somewhere in this area, but it's firing back at us. And we got to the point where it was like, probably had it been like within 100 yards of where it was, and like we thought we'd be able to see it by then, and then it just shut up, and I let like a few bugles rip like sporadically, like just trying to find it, and we just couldn't find it, and kind of hung out down there for a little bit before we finally had to do the awful hike out of there, all the way back up, and at one point it just went silent. We just don't know where it went.
Were you cow calling, or were you more?
This was bugling, ripping back and forth.
Yep.
Like it was cutting us off, like we were cutting it off, like it was like a fucking battle.
And then once you got to a certain, like let's say once you got to a certain yardage where it could tell that okay, it's coming in close, that's when it just shut up.
Yeah. And we like kind of had a general idea of where we thought it was, and we were kind of like sneaking up on that area. We kind of like just stayed still a little bit, and we just couldn't find it. And I think in this, once you start to go this way in that fucking like creek bottom, like it starts to get really thick with like deadfall and shit.
Yeah.
It starts to get like real like thick, so they could like disappear quick in there when it takes us a long time to get through it. But like I'm still kind of dumbfounded how we never saw it, because I thought like we would have been able to see it somewhere down
Were you following the creek, or were you on the trail?
We got down to the point where we were like at the creek.
Oh, you were at the creek.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's thick down there.
Yeah, no idea where it went. So that kind of sucked. But we're like, well, we still have time left, and like we know, there's definitely bulls down here, and we went back to our camp, and our camp was in the different spot in the unit, and we wanted to try around there a little bit, kind of give that other area a little bit of a break type deal, and so we went down by the river one night. We're like, we're just gonna bugle down there, like kind of close to camp, see what happens. And we had something bugling back to us, like we thought it might have been like a person at one point. We're like, all right, we still just stayed put. And as it got closer, like within that golden hour, towards dark, we started to get bugles ripping back to us, and we're like, holy shit, we're like camp's like a few hundred yards away from us, and we're just at this creek right by our camp. So I'm firing off, and at this point there's like 3 different bulls bugling back at us from the other side of the creek. One's kind of from up the mountain, 2 are kind of like directly across from us, and all these bulls are like coming in, and we're like, oh my god, this is like what dreams are made of type thing.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point where it's like getting like pretty close to shooting light, and 2 of the bulls are still kind of bugling at us. One of them's like close, like I think I ranged, it was like 60 yards across the creek up to the tree line. And it's getting to the point where like, okay, we probably have like 5 minutes left of shooting light. And these things are like, this one's closing in, but like it's probably hung up at this point, at that tree line. I don't have enough time to make it over there, whatever. And so they're still bugling and stuff, and we're like, fuck. And my buddy's like, we need to just like back out to camp, and like hopefully they're here in the morning type thing. Like we're kind of out of daylight, and they're like closing in on us. Yep. Now looking back, I wish we would have kind of went towards them while they were coming at us, but they were coming in. It seemed so fast. We're just gonna let them. We're gonna let them like come right into our laps. And at this point, people are driving their side by sides and trucks down the mountain to like, you could see some of the lights behind us as they're going back down. Everybody's stopping to like listen to this. Like there's just people stopping and like listening to us bugle with these bulls. And so we make our way back up to camp, and then we just sat there and like for the next hour or so, whenever it was, until I like fell asleep. All we heard were bulls screaming around us, So we're like, oh man, we're in the thick of it, like. Yep. And then the same thing the next morning, we kind of tried to go find them, and it's the same thing from year one, where they're just not there,
Yeah.
So that kind of sucked.
Okay, so I got a couple other things that I want to cover. So you have 3 elk seasons under your belt.
Would have been our 3rd. Yeah. Yep.
And then you went to Montana.
So that was the 2024 season. So between the 2nd and 3rd season, we had a year off, because that was my first year where I got to be a PM deal, and overtime kind of eliminated any possibility for like elk hunting that fall. Mm-hmm. So that year 3 was a couple seasons after year 2.
Yeah. So you hunted elk 2021, 22. You couldn't go 23.
Yep.
24, and then just this past year you went to Montana.
Yeah.
Where you found a deadhead, right?
Yeah. Yep. I had overtime, but like we drew these tags, so we're kind of forced to go during rifle season.
Yep.
Know nothing about Montana, so we pretty much picked a spot based on statistics, went out there, and it's pretty much like an outfitter's game where we're going. It's like you're either going to get lucky still hunting them in the timber, or you're doing what the outfitters are doing, and they're on this road, glassing the different meadows. As soon as you could kind of see which meadow the herds are in, they were on their horses going up there.
Yeah, so you were kind of competing. You guys were on foot, and the outfitters and everybody else was on horseback.
And this was in.
So basically, you guys spot the same.
Yeah. So
bull, they're gonna get there.
And
first.
we never tried racing them, but there were people that did. And
Yeah.
at one morning I glassed them shooting 2 bulls up there while there were 3 groups of people on foot just still trying to make their way up the mountain to
Yeah.
it. And this was in like heavy grizz country, like.
Yeah, you came across a few grizz tracks.
Yeah, that first morning we went out. There was fresh snow from the night before, and there was like 6 different sets of grizzly tracks on the trail we were on the way up there. So a little unsettling there, but like, so we pretty much committed. We're like, we know we're not going to beat the outfitters, so we just kind of need to commit to still hunting to where we want to kind of sit in the evening and making our way out. And we had some luck. We saw a ton of cows doing that, like, but we only had bull tags, and like same kind of thing. We do these shitty hikes through these really shitty areas, get to where we think the elk are there. Like I had cows at like 30 yards, right where like our pin was gonna be, and then we just didn't see any bulls. And then we saw some bulls when we were glassing from like a mile and a half away from this one spot, and we were glassing them like every day, and nobody was going up towards these ones. This was, I think, there was certain days the outfitters weren't out there, and it was less busy. I can't remember which days they were. So we kind of like made game plans to try to go find those bulls, and we never did. And they were like smaller bulls. But we would pretty much just gamble on which meadow we wanted to go to and sit for a little bit. Hopefully they pop back out in that area where they were the day before. But they'd be in different meadows, They weren't going to the same spot every night. They weren't, So we kind of lost luck there, and we had some opportunities at like small bucks because we had deer tags too, but we didn't end up taking any shots at any small ones. We only saw one nice buck, and we saw it because there was like 4 other vehicles stopped on the road while this lady was shooting it from like right off the road pretty much. Probably the nicest bull we saw was we were driving back to camp in town, and it was just a big 6x6 walking on the road right into town. He was probably out of the no fire zone. Like he just got into like the no fire zone, like probably by a quarter, probably like an eighth of a mile. He just walked his way into like can't shoot in that area.
Yep.
And he was just in town. We're like, why couldn't we have seen that out there? But there was just hundreds, if not thousands, of elk around the town down there.
Okay.
It was like just pulling into that area. The first day it was like elk mecca, like most elk I've ever seen. Like it was just insane, like the amount of, and they were mainly like cows and shit down there. I mean, there'd be like the bull here and there, a bunch of spikes, but that was, I mean, we saw the most elk we've ever seen on that trip. But
okay,
it was fun.
So you're not going elk hunting this year?
No.
Next year?
Next year, yeah.
Wyoming?
Hopefully. Yeah.
Both of us?
Yeah, let's fucking do it.
So, so you'll be going into your actual 5th season.
Yeah.
Still.
But if you think about it, like think about the amount of time I've put into elk hunting out there, total of probably like 28 days. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's very much still a rookie. That's one season for somebody that lives out west. So it's still very much so rookie numbers. You know what I mean?
That's a tall order to fill
when you're committing a week at a time.
Right.
So it's still very much so rookie in the elk woods.
I guess the point is, so you're going into what it'll be like. Going out hunting will be your 5th season, and that drive is just still there.
Oh yeah.
There's no.
Yeah.
It's I got to get this done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have no intentions. Like it made me ill, like going out with a rifle this past year.
Okay.
Because I was like, I've already committed 3 years to do it with a bow. Like I had like. And again, like when I started bow hunting a lot more after that first elk trip, like it just wasn't that much fun for me anymore for like rifle hunting. Like I still will rifle hunt deer season here, just like because you can, kind of like tradition type shit, but like it just doesn't do it for me for like a bow. I would rather go elk hunting with a bow and not get something than probably like go out with a rifle and
chew on it.
Yeah, like at this point, I'm not saying down the road I went, but like to get my first bull, like it just wouldn't feel right if it wasn't with a
Right.
bow, you know?
Yeah.
Because you're committed so much at this point. And it's the same thing as like people say like, why don't you like go with an outfitter or something? It's like, well, same thing. I've committed 4 years of going out there doing all DIY type shit. Like I got to do it myself at this point. I got to get done by myself.
Well,
at
it's
this
kind of
point.
like a pride thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm going into my 4th year and I
Yeah.
haven't punched a tag yet, and it's like I was talking to the owner of A1. It's like I've failed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've learned a lot of stuff, but I failed. I need to succeed. I
Yeah.
need this. I need this.
That's how I feel about
and
it.
it
Yeah.
just, you know, your first season, you don't know what to expect, and
Right.
it seems like your drive just gets stronger and stronger
Exactly,
every
yeah.
year that you don't punch a tag.
Yeah. Yeah, it did make me feel good going out there with the rifle this past year, but like it was what it was. But like, I mean, that first bull, like it has to be with the bow. I feel, and I'm obviously DIY, you know. So
for the people listening that are either going to get into elk hunting or have, you know, a few years under their belt, like, don't give up. Like, keep pushing.
yeah, exactly.
It's got to happen at some point.
Yeah. And I'm not saying like there's necessarily stuff wrong with doing it with a rifle or whatever. It's just like you said, you put that much time into it. That's just how I feel like it has to happen for me,
Yep.
you know. And it's a lot funner going out in September when you're chasing bugles and when you're out there in November and you're not chasing bugles, you're just looking through glass. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot funner.
So, what's the plan for 2026? Your hunting plan.
So that's North Slope, Alaska caribou.
Okay, so you're not going elk hunting.
No. So this is a trip we've had reserved for 3 years. It was one that we kind of like saw on YouTube, and it's not guided, but it's a transport service type thing. So
Yeah, it's like
you
the
have
semi-
you have to book this 3 years in advance. We had the last spot they had available for this year, so we're it's like, well, we got to do it. It's 3 years out. Like, who knows where we'll be hunting wise then? But like, we gotta get on the books. Otherwise, we're gonna have to wait another year to do this type thing.
So you booked this hunt back in 2023.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And yeah, we got the last spot for the first week of August, and yeah, I mean, it's completely different. Like even preparing, because like there's so many different aspects of this. This is the first trip I'm flying, right? So you got to learn all the different ins and outs of traveling with the sidearm. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
everything. Like it's a bow or rifle hunt. You can do either or. I'm still breeding my bow with. My buddy said like he's gonna bring a rifle. He wants to like know he's gonna get some type thing, right? Like even
Or
though
have a
you
better
don't-
chance,
Yeah, exactly.
right.
And
Up the odds.
yeah, and so there's a lot of different ins and outs into planning this trip. A lot more with like weight restrictions and traveling and flying with bag, like everything. But essentially, we flying up to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, and then we have a transport service that we're paying to bring us out to a spot that they, I guess, feel is where the migration's happening. They drop us off and they pick us up a week later.
Okay.
And we rented some camping gear up there too. So through them or their associates, whoever they work with for renting stuff, we'll at least have like a tent and stuff, you know.
Yep.
So we don't have to bring that, because you can bring that. You can bring like a certain amount of like extra weight in a bag for like camping type stuff, but besides that, you're limited to 70-pound dry bag per person, along with what's on your body and your weapon of choice.
And you can bring a couple coolers, can't you?
So you could bring one cooler that's maxed out at like 70 pounds, but like here's the issue I saw with that. Traveling from the Midwest, you're either gonna fill this cooler up, you're gonna bring it with, and the airline's gonna charge you anywhere from like $250 to $350 per flight, bringing this out there. So we have two different flights to get out there, one to Anchorage and Anchorage up there.
Okay.
Being that it'd be overweight or oversized, whatever. And then on the way back, even when it's going to be empty, you're still going to be paying an oversized fee of like a couple $100. So it's like, do you want to spend $1,000 to bring a cooler up there for a week, or are you fine with just kind of eating freeze-dried meals and the type of shit you could pack with? You know?
Right.
So we're kind of avoiding the cooler route, because it could be a 70-pound cooler or like a 70-pound bag for food type thing. So
Yeah, so you're not bringing a cooler. You're gonna eat freeze-dried meals.
Freeze-dried meals, pack carry, the same shit we bring for elk hunting, you know.
Okay.
See where weight sits, I guess, with everything. And
That's two of you going out there.
yeah, and so when you get to Prudhoe Bay, they say there's like a store similar size to like a small gas station. So it's not like you can fly up there, buy a cooler, and fill it with shit either. It's like they might have some limited shit, but like, I don't know, a fucking Powerade might cost you $10 or something.
Right.
You don't know what it's
Yeah.
gonna be. So yeah.
Okay, let's go over your archery gear. What are you shooting?
Prime Inline 3. And I got a Spot Hawk Fast Eddie XL, Hamsky Trinity Rest. And that's kind of the gist of it. I mean, I bee seen or stab, but yeah, pretty, I think, basic setup for like hunting out west, I guess, as far as like a 3-pin mover sight. Like I like the vertical stack better than the horizontal, so I switched from a 2-pin vertical stack Fast Eddie to a 3-pin a couple years ago, and I like that a lot better because you can individually adjust the pins to rather than like the 2-pin fixed post, you know.
Right.
So I like that sight. Yeah, I like the Spot Hogs. The Hamskys rests are pretty much bulletproof. You know?
Right.
They're awesome. So I have no problems there. And yeah, I mean, I've been doing everything. Oh gosh, was it for like 3 or 4 years now? That's pretty much when I started. When I bought this bow, shortly after it is kind of when I started working all the bow stuff myself. You know. So
Yeah, so Steve bought. You got a press. You got a draw board.
yeah.
You got a vise.
Yep.
So you set up everything in your garage to work on your own stuff.
Right. And at that time, a big part of the reason why I was doing that is because, like, I lived, like, 40 minutes from the only archery shop I trusted. And, like, and then again, when you're listening to Elk Shape and stuff so much and they're talking about all this stuff, it's like, I want to learn to do this stuff myself. And it makes it so much easier when you need to make a tweak to just do it in your garage rather than have to find time to go to the archery shop too, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, went down that rabbit hole, learning all that.
But and then arrow weight. What are you shooting?
I actually haven't even weighed these arrows since I did it because I switched from Easton Access 5mm match grades that, oh gosh, I probably used for the past 3 or 4 years. But I just switched to the Easton 5.0s and just got sight taped and stuff on those. And I might have weighed them. I might have a picture of how much. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I use 125 grain on them. I could tell you, I know they're a lot lighter just because I had to move my sight up a lot more than the Access 5mm.
What are we thinking? Like mid 4s?
I think so.
Yeah.
Probably around there. Because the Access, I think I was more so around 5 with the 125s on there too.
Okay. What broadhead you bringing up to Alaska?
So I'm going to be using the Iron Will single bevel 125s.
Standard or wide?
Standard.
Standard.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
That's what I've used for past few years at least. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, like I mentioned before in the intro, you started a game call company, Gruntlife.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how did that become? Like, how did you come up with that?
So, oh gosh. It started back, what would it have been, like January, year and a half, January 25, like, I pretty much, I like doing, like, same thing with, like, working on the bows and stuff. I liked figuring out that aspect of what goes into it, doing shit yourself, whatever, and something, like, I think I was at, like, the Minnesota Deer and Turkey Classic or something another year and seeing, like, those game call companies and stuff and, like, mainly turkey hunting and stuff, and I'm like, man, like, I think it'd be kind of cool to, like, figure some of that out, like, build your own and I found out you could very easily buy stuff to build your own diaphragms. So I was, like, started tinkering with that stuff and making my own little diaphragms for turkey hunting, just, like, basic 2-reed V-cut type things. And turkey season came around, and I was, like, had a bunch of turkeys at my property. I was kind of scouting different areas, calling them. They're gobbling like crazy and all the different stuff. And I only had one day I could hunt during the season I drew that year. So when I went out to hunt, I pretty much was like, well, I'm just taking my bow. I'm going to go out there, sit up against a tree. Hopefully something happens. I get out there and I start calling as like they're still on the roost, and I have like 4 different toms gobbling back at me from like kind of my neighbor's property. I'm like, this is awesome. And 2 of them started to come in, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is a lot of fucking fun. Like, just that was the first time I was really bow hunting with for turkey. And,
Okay.
Before I knew it, I heard the one behind me kind of shut up, and I'm looking for the one coming in ahead of me, and I can't see it. And then I just turn my head, and I have that one tom all fanned out at like 5 yards to my right, and then my decoys are like 10 yards ahead of it. And I'm like, oh shit. So I like slowly, I had some like brush I piled up over there to like block it, you know. I kind of slowly turned and started to like try to turn and draw, and it just blew out of there, like busting like nothing. I'm like, oh, well, that was my one day I got to try to hunt this year, so that was fun, you know, for turkey. And then, so yeah, that was a very like cheap and easy way of building calls with that deal. It was like this little package you buy.
Okay.
And anybody could do it, right? And then I'm like, I got to figure out how. Part of the thing going through my head at the same time was like, how do I make a company? But I also want to do like tie the veteran aspect into it. And I came up with like kind of the idea behind like the logo at the time and the name and stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, I got to start making stuff look like I got to make it better quality too, right? Because this kit's very like kind of chintzy and like it makes them, but you're like hand cutting them and stuff, you know. So after like looking through the forums and everything, I came across the company that makes all the tooling and stuff for any game call company. Like anyone out there that makes diaphragms, like this is the guy that makes it for him, you know.
Okay.
So I talked to him. He told me it was different things he offered. I ordered pretty much a basic cutter from him and a basic jig, and been making it that way kind of ever since. And that pretty much just stepped the quality up to like pretty much what you buy anywhere else, you know.
Right.
Because they're all using the same shit.
Yep.
They're just putting a different name on it, making a little different of cut. Might use a little bit of a different stretch, you know, whatever, to fine tune it to their company's deal. But it's all made the same way.
Slapping a logo on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you started with turkey calls.
Started with turkey calls, but they weren't the first thing I launched, essentially.
Right. So you launched your elk diaphragms first, right?
Technically it was the deer.
Oh, it was the deer.
Grunt call.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the same time I'm doing all that, I'm figuring out like, well, Gruntlife, like a lot of the aspect behind that name was like a buck grunt and a grunt from Marine Corps type thing.
Yeah.
Like I wanted like the first one to be like a signature grunt call, you know. So went down the rabbit hole on that, and I'm like, well, here's the thing, like I had to source some of the parts for like the guts, essentially. You see a bunch of different people do this. And so my initial plan with the buck grunts was like, all right, I'm going to like carve these things myself, right? I did not have enough time to figure that out. So I kind of was like, talk to my brother. I'm like, is this kind of like a hobby you want to get into? Like, I'll buy the wood lathe if you want to like make them and whatever. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it, like kind of for fun, whatever. So he's got it. He got really good at it. And he was like a hobby he liked doing. So he just kind of been helping out make those for Gruntlife, the wood carved pieces and stuff. And as far as like the guts and stuff, there's a lot of companies you can buy like these kind of custom looking wood grunt calls on like Etsy or eBay. Like people make them on YouTube and like sell them different stuff. And it's more so like the look type thing, because a lot of them use the similar reeds and stuff, you know, because that's sourced from like a supplier within the U.S. So that was kind of the first big deal for like designing and trying to figure out like the look of it and stuff, and having to figure out where to buy the stuff, and having to figure out like, okay, what size like band is going to fit good on it, and like how do you design that, where do you get that, you know, having to source all the different little things, how much is it going to cost, and then figuring out the margins and what are you going to sell it for, and then all that different stuff. So that at the same time I was also making like the elk flat frame diaphragms, you know.
Okay.
So when I launched the site, that was initially what I launched first, was like that stuff and some like basic apparel, you know. And then I pretty much right away started focusing back on the turkey calls, so like make a full lineup plan for like the intro turkey call deal, which we launched like in the spring. And I kind of took down the flat frame elk diaphragms at that point, because I'm like, well, I was really searching deep on trying to get more of like the dome shape deal in there too, and eventually kind of made a connection there was able to source that stuff. So then I kind of like took the flat frames down. I'm like, when I launch this, I'm going to launch them together because like I still think there's value to like the flat frames.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to offer the dome shape ones too. And timing wise, it just makes sense to do it kind of like this summer. So, and at the same time, I'm like, I want to do a bugle tube too, right? So started working kind of on all fronts on that. The dome frames came together. Was able to make 3 different elk diaphragms to start with. They're the dome shape, and then 3 that are the flat frame, and then starting to work on the bugle tube. And that's coming together. I mean, it takes a lot longer to like make the bugle tubes, and there's a little bit different stuff that goes into it. A little bit more of like the testing, I guess, like going through the different versions and figuring out what works out. So it's taken a lot longer than I anticipated, but I'm hopefully able to launch that by September. But we'll see if that comes to. I guess another thing I missed was like the pot calls for turkey we launched this year too, which was a fun one to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're nice. I used them this turkey season, and I was comparing it to my Phelps, and I actually ended up taking your call out over the Phelps. So
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
my big thing with that was like I wanted to design it to like look, kind of look like bottom of like an arty shell. So that was like the design, I guess, around it. But also I wanted to incorporate like a cover that's like you could pretty much put the cover on this thing and fucking hit it with a baseball bat, and I'm pretty sure it would still
it's
fine.
really durable.
That was kind of my focus behind it. I'm like, I'll eventually get into the wood ones, I think, just because like looks and appeal and stuff. But I'm like, first one I feel like needs to be the one that's gonna like last forever.
Yeah, you can put it through the ringer and it's gonna hold up.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Okay, so, well, you got some of your diaphragms out here. You got your bugle tube that
this
is like a prototype.
This is like the final-ish prototype.
Okay.
Because the only thing we really changed on this one was wall thickness. The wall thickness we ended up taking it down. We took 2/3 off of that. So it's going to be quite a bit lighter than this one is, but it's still going to be pretty rigid as far as durability and stuff goes. But also
it feels really durable. I mean, there's some of the cheap ones that you'll buy, they flex. That
was the big thing behind this was also like I had the same mindset as the puck. I'm like, I got to make this thing like as durable as I can, but while also making it like still like useful and lightweight,
Right.
So we went through some different variations of like the baffles, like inside the baffle chamber and the different like features in there to see what different sounds it made, like what was more beneficial and stuff. And it took a while because like these things take a while to make, and pretty much came to this one. And by eliminating the wall thickness by 2/3, it helped out the timing on it a lot too. But I wanted to stick with like the traditional look. That's what like I wanted to make it look like kind of one of our signature deals, right? So we wanted to add like the wood mouthpiece because that was something I didn't see a lot out there. Like I saw there was like, I mean, there's 1 or 2 companies that make full wood bugle tubes.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see anything that did it like this way specifically. So I was like, well, that's gonna be kind of our little niche.
I mean, this is durable enough where if you get into a spot where you need to rake, you could rake with this.
And that's what I was thinking about with it, because I've definitely tried using my other bugle tubes to rake before, and then I'm like, stop right away because I don't want to break.
You get that well, you get that. You also get that with that thin plastic. You get that hollow noise with it, where this is pretty solid.
Yeah.
So and then you got this was what you launched first.
Yep. So we launched that in a cherry and maple version, and that's the cherry version, so a little bit darker than the maple. Yeah, this is pretty basic. Breaks apart, and then you could adjust the reed from doe bleed to ground call, like 5 different stages.
Okay. So where can people find you? What's your website?
So it's gruntlifeco.com. That's our website. That's where you can buy this stuff on. And then we also have a Gruntlife Co. on Instagram and Facebook. I mean, I made it, but the presence on there is very minimal. But that's pretty much it at this point. Is Instagram and Facebook and our website.
And guys, if you want to support Steve in Gruntlife, I will link his website in the description, so you can check that out.
And a big thing with like the Gruntlife deal from the get-go is like I want to make it so like I know a lot of people do like portion of proceeds go to like here, portion of proceeds go there. I'm like, well, I want to like still very much so like do it in a way where it gives back and like helps people get into whether it's bow hunting or veterans, whatever, for archery specifically. So I've like from the get-go I've committed like 10% of every sale, not 10% of profits, not 10% whatever. So if you know you're spending like $50 on a call or something, $5 that's going to go somewhere for veteran organizations that are into hunting and stuff, like nonprofit type stuff. And with that, I'm waiting to get to a certain number before I like make the contribution. So I pretty much have a couple picked out, but like we're very much so in the early stages yet, where it's like haven't even been launched for like a year. And it's hard to like juggle all of it with like the kids and the family and work and all that stuff. So it's at this point, it's like very much so like a hobby level. So it's not like it's like grown overnight type thing, right? Like I put in the time and effort on all ends, like when I can. So the marketing stuff's very limited at this point. It's been a lot of like product development and but that's kind of, I guess, just the reasoning behind that is like from the get-go I've said like 10% of everything we sell is going to go to support a veteran organization, or many, I guess, whichever ones we end up picking, I guess. But
it's awesome. So if people want to watch the progression of Gruntlife and you growing, is the best place to follow you on Instagram? Is that where you post the most?
Yep.
Okay.
I pretty much have it to the point where it's linked with Facebook, so everything I post on Instagram also goes to Facebook.
Okay.
But I don't like story wise and stuff. That some of that stuff might only go on Instagram, and a lot of the people that are like sharing their like turkey kills and stuff, that's mainly all on Instagram.
They'll take you on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that'll lead into our next question: is you got a lot going on, personal, work, hunting. How do you balance a family? You have two boys, a wife, two boys.
Yep.
You're a passionate bow hunter and hunter all around, and then you also have a company. I mean, how do you do it? What are some tips that you can give people that?
So I guess from the get-go when I started Gruntlife, it was a lot of the like, and this is when we only had one boy at this time, and it was a lot of like spending that 8 to midnight working on this stuff, and that's pretty much how it rolled all the way through until our second kid came along, and then different bedtimes and different like schedules and stuff, and like I was getting to the point where I just like, and this pops in my mind a lot, like different ideas will come in my mind like throughout the day and stuff, and I note it down in notes and like try to like take care of it later, and like I pretty much have like the time reserved from like after 9:00 at night, once like all the kids' feeds are done and both of them are sleeping, hopefully like 9 to like 10 to like at this point in my life to try to like get something done.
Right.
If you have something you're working on that you want to get done, you like stay up later on whatever. But like what I was struggling with is like I was pushing that time frame, so I was staying up later, and then I was getting not that much sleep and shit, and then I was struggling with workouts. So like I was. It's when you try to balance all that, it's like you're almost neglecting somewhere, right? So I really neglected like the working out thing. That sucked. I was neglecting the bow shooting that a lot too, like because it was more so focused on like the Gruntlife and the kids and work and stuff. But then as at one point this summer I was like, all right, the Gruntlife stuff just has to like sit on the shelf for now, because I have to really focus on like the fitness and the bow stuff. So I guess the easy answer is like there's not a solution to balance it all. It just comes to like what you're prioritizing at that certain point. I think obviously you're always prioritizing family first, and like you have to go to your job, like you know. So then it just comes down to like time management. you only have this much time, because you have to get this much sleep. You're going to work on the mornings now. Like, I've pretty much been committing to that, which waking up at like 4 a.m. sucks, but that's like the only time you have to do it if you're going to try to get other shit done at night,
Yeah.
So then you pretty much leave that hour or two at night to like figure out what you got to get done, and you just got to manage your time. So I'm big on like to-do lists, like prioritizing like what I got to do in order to, hit this time frame and whatnot.
So basically, yeah, write a schedule and, give time slots to each thing, whether it's, 3 days a week I work on this, 2 days a week I work on this.
Right.
But no matter what is, and this is the hardest thing I think for people is, you're sacrificing sleep no matter what.
Yeah. A little bit. I think at this point, like, I've gotten back to, like, I'm at least getting 6 hours of sleep now,
Yeah.
There were certain points where I was getting a lot less, and that just ends up, you can't do that forever, right?
It's not
It gets to
sustainable.
a point where it's like, it's going to reflect on like your stress, like your attitude, your workouts, your like physical health and stuff. Like, I pretty much figured that out. And you're going to listen to podcasts where people tell you like the 10 to 2 is when you like get that shit done if you're trying to grow a business and whatever. Well, you can't only live off 2 hours of sleep. I think those people are full of shit.
Right.
Like, you have to figure out the balance, and I think anybody that kind of goes through that stuff is they get to a point where they're going to figure out what works for them and realize like time management's huge, especially with a family and stuff.
And things are going to change.
Yeah.
You just got to adapt and, okay.
And so I pretty much got to the point where I'm like, it's okay to not hit those initial time frames I had in mind for Gruntlife for launching stuff. Like, it doesn't have to go fast. At this point, it's not my full-time job. Like, it's very much so like the hobby, like side gig, more so hobby type thing. You know what I mean? Because it's not bringing in like livable fucking revenue. It's like very much so like a fun thing to do right now. And so I pretty much figured out like at that point, then that's kind of the time I have to put into it, at least until I get like the level of stress behind like shoot my bow and like fitness and stuff again prioritized, and then working that back into it.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of neglect and different stuff and figuring out what works, but yeah, time
And then-
management's huge.
For your hunting trips and family, what does that look like? What do you do in order to get that time off in the fall to do the trips that you want?
So like this one in particular kind of really sucks, like time.
Okay.
Because like 3 years ago when I booked this, I didn't know I'd have a 4-month-old going into it, so
Yeah.
the timing really sucks. And that, so like with that trip, we're gonna lean a lot on like the in-laws and my parents, like for helping her when I'm out, because you're gonna be in a spot where it's like Garmin inReach, you could barely the texts, type thing out there. So yeah, it just really sucks. I like if this was a trip you could have planned the same year type thing, I wouldn't have been doing a trip to like that level this year with a 4-month-old and then
Right.
a 3-year-old and stuff. But like, I don't know. The rest of the year you're kind of trying to help earn that, I guess, those trips. But like, I still never feel like they're justified. Like, I still feel guilty going on it one way or another. Like,
Yeah.
Feel guilty for like leaving both kids in her lap, and feel guilty not like being with the kids during that time, because like from the time you leave you're gonna miss them, like,
Yeah.
So it's just I don't know about feeling like knowing that you earned it, because like I still feel like any way you look at it you're gonna feel guilty one way or another for kind of like leaving your family for a week to go do something that's kind of selfish, right? Like
Right.
a hunting trip
It
that.
is selfish. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't even necessarily know if it's right to say you kind of do stuff to earn it. It just kind of, yeah, I feel selfish and
You
guilty.
just get, yeah. I know for my wife, she's amazing and she'll let me go.
Mm-hmm.
She's supportive of me going to all these trips out west and leaving her. I have a son, leaving her with the kid, and it's just, I guess you guys got to be on the same page, and
Yeah.
hopefully your wife understands, and you can make it work.
Yeah, my wife's the same way. She's always been supportive of every trip we've been on, and always wanted me to like be successful with hunting, and like bow hunting around here takes up a lot of time and stuff too. So she's always been very supportive on that end. But like you said, you pretty much need that if you're going to be into bow hunting at any level around
Right.
here. Like, yeah.
So, for closing, I got a few questions. Do you think that the hunting industry has changed for the better or for the worse over the years, looking at, like the old school bone collector days up until how social media has played a role, in 2026?
I mean, so if you're looking at it from a selfish point of view, like I think it's for the better, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't know 75% of the stuff, and probably 90% of the stuff we know about elk hunting without how it's gotten to this point, right? Like everything we've learned is from like influencers and YouTube, social media, all that stuff. So like from a selfish point of view, I think it's for the better. Like for me trying to learn how to elk hunt and like get elk, and I would never have known about this caribou like opportunity type deal through this specific place and stuff. Like, so I think it's opportunity wise and like helping people get out there and figure it out. Like I think it's great, but it's also like twofold, because like it's also changing a lot with like what we see with the laws and regulations with like tags and like places getting too crowded. People that like grew up hunting in Colorado for 15 years are now like overwhelmed with people around them. Like, so there's always going to be two sides to it, and I think like those states are kind of trying to mitigate damage control on it, but that's why they're kind of like changing up all those laws on tags and draws and everything so much too, even though some you don't agree with, but it's like whatever. And that's why there's just not that many over-the-counter opportunities anymore, but yeah, I think it's kind of two-sided.
Looking ahead, what do you think we as hunters can do to make the hunting community stronger for the next generation and improve it, and hopefully bring everybody together? And I'm not talking just bow hunters, rifle hunters, because everybody talks crap about rifle hunters or whatever you don't do, you're gonna give a little shit to, right? But bring everybody. What can we do to bring everybody together in hopes to fight these anti-hunters that are trying to pass bills like the peace bill or act that's going on in Oregon, or Colorado trying to get rid of trophy hunting and all that.
So I think there's a big thing I guess behind that is like organizations like nonprofits and shit out there, like getting involved with those, whether it's Whitetails Unlimited, RMEF, BHA, which I know like there's some controversy around some of these organizations and how certain people feel about them, but like ultimately you look into what some of those organizations do and how much support they bring against like some of those bills and like how they help shut them down, like I wouldn't know about some of the Colorado bills and shit like if I wasn't like a member of some of these places, and they don't like constantly send you emails and show you, and they send you an email that says like call this number now and like vote again, like tell them your opinion against it type thing, right? So I think a big thing is like still supporting some of those nonprofit organizations and being members of them, just because it helps fund the right organizations, and it also helps keep everyone aware of like what's going on there. But then also as far as like the next generation, it just comes down to like raising your kids how you think is right for like the hunting industry, right? Like if you're involved and present with like your kids and showing them how to bow hunt, doing it right and stuff, then like that's just going to be another hunter that's like down the road that's in it for the right reasons, as opposed to somebody that figures it out their own way and gets into some doesn't have a good influence on them, that might not be as beneficial, having like people that like poach and shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you're a good influence and you like raise them right, I guess that's just gonna help in the long run too.
Teach them what's ethical, what's not,
exactly.
all that. So get involved. I'm a member of RMEF. I think you are as well, aren't you? So, get involved with one of these. It doesn't have to be RMEF. It can be any group, but as long as it's just going to help you stay informed on what's going on out there. It's hard to keep track of every state.
Yeah.
And if you are in a state where this is happening, go to the meetings. Voice your opinions. Try and have a say in what's going on, and spread the word.
Yeah.
And don't be against each other. Just we're all in it together, and we're fighting for the same thing, and that's conservation.
Yep.
So, well, Steve, that's all I got. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks
First
for having me.
guest.
Yeah.
So
It's an honor.
yeah. Good luck this season,
Yeah, you too.
and we'll stay in touch.
Right
Hopefully,
on.
after that Alaska trip, after the season, we'll have you back on and we'll recap all that.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, all right. We will see you guys on the next one. Yeah, I don't know how to end it, so I'm just going to stop.